Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad ATIF by FIRDAUS, and in this video I would like to talk a bit about my own reflection regarding to my proficiency as someone who is planning to be an English teacher in the future. So for this video, I will be referring to my previous assignment where I have handled a class, or to be specific, I have handled half of the post-lesson part for the class, in which I am referring to my own transcription from what I have done in the class. So after referring to my transcription, there are a few things that I have realized, a few mistakes that I have done, in which I believe I need to reflect. In particular, there are two main elements of mistakes that I have done, which are pronunciation and also grammar. So let's move to what is the mistake that I have done. What are the mistakes that I have done? So firstly, it was about pronunciation, which during the class I have corrected one of the student. The student intended to say advertisement, but the student have pronounced it as advertisement, so it was indeed wrong, and I have I'm trying to correct the student by saying it's supposed to be advertisement, which is not necessarily wrong, but at the same time it is also not the standard pronunciation that we use in Malaysia, in which the students taught in British English pronunciation. And I believe I should check it as well in order to ensure that the students are not going to be confused, because in other classes maybe other teachers are going to use British pronunciation. For most part, they are probably going to use that, and the students are going to get confused. Therefore, in the future, I am hoping to keep checking on my own pronunciation in order to ensure that the students are not going to be confused whether it is actually either just wrong pronunciation, or perhaps the pronunciation is not by the standards that we use here in Malaysia. And there are two grammar mistakes that I would like to highlight. Firstly, the mistake that I have done is the wrong use of wrong use of preposition. During my session, I asked the student, alright, but that is what is on the picture. And what's the error in this part is that I said on what is on the picture, which is the wrong preposition. Supposedly I should use but that is what is in the picture. On the rules here stated that it has to be in and not on. And regarding to the mistake, I am hoping to correct it in the future, so I believe I need to revise my understanding on how preposition work in grammar. And lastly, another mistakes that I have realized that I have done, which is the grammatical structure of the sentence. In this case, I'm going to use the excerpt, which is what are we going to do. In this context, I was planning to tell the student the activity that I am going to have them participate, but the structure that I have used, what are we going to do, is not the right structure. The structure that I have used here is a structure that we are going to use when we are asking a question, but that is not my intention. What I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to say, is what we are going to do. So for the mistake as well, I believe I should revise my understanding on how sentence structure works. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day I bid to Dr. Noraini. My name is KHAIRUN BINTI BADLI and my metric number is B20221101969. Today, I will be presenting my reflections on my teacher talk during the lesson that I've conducted, focusing on areas where I need to improve my English proficiency. This reflection has highlighted several areas, particularly in terms of vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Firstly, in terms of vocabulary, during my lesson, I noticed that my choice of words was sometimes poor and quite informal. For instance, I said, later I'll check on it. Here, the phrase check on it is quite informal and vague. Using more precise language such as review it or assess it would be more appropriate, fostering clearer and more accurate word use for the learners. I also repeated the use of the word "yeah" throughout the lesson, which is, in my opinion, also quite inappropriate in a formal educational setting. This informal language likely came from my daily speech habits, which unexpectedly made their way into the classroom. Instead of saying, "do ask ya," I should use phrases like, "please ask" or "feel free to ask." This improvement will help prevent the fossilization of informal language in learners' speech. Additionally, I consciously avoided using the word "guys" during the lesson, which is also inappropriate in a classroom setting. Next, I want to address some grammatical errors I made during the lesson. For example, I said, "Okay, second representative, L3, are you there?" This sentence lacked a subject in the initial clause, making it sound awkward. The corrected sentence should be, "The second representative is L3. Are you there, L3?" This is because adding a subject improves the clarity of the utterance, creating a proper sentence structure that helps learners better understand the instructions. Finally, in terms of pronunciation, I mispronounced the phrase "early bird deal" as "yearly bird deal." This error likely occurred because I was trying to hurry through the explanation. Such mistakes can lead to confusion and misunderstandings among learners. To improve, I will focus on slowing down my speech and practicing the pronunciation of common phrases. This will enhance my pronunciation accuracy and ensure clearer communication in the future. In conclusion, this reflection has been incredibly valuable in identifying areas for improvement in my English proficiency. By addressing these issues, choosing more precise vocabulary, correcting grammatical errors, and improving pronunciation, I can create a more effective and professional learning environment for my students in the future. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum to Dr. Naraini. My name is IFFA SHAZLYANA binti SHARIN. For our lesson plan, we have choose Let's Eat as the topic of our lesson, with the main focus on teaching the student the skill of scanning. I was responsible for conducting the lesson development task, where it required me to show the student a YouTube video as their input and give a simple briefing on the material for their task, which is the advertisement brochure. My main pedagogic goals for the lesson development was to reinforce information, to encourage student participation in class, and to correct mispronunciation, while my sub-pedagogic goals for lesson development was to enhance student speaking skill. Reflecting on my teaching language proficiency, I found that frequent interruption, a poor teaching strategy, and uncomfortable transition between each activity were all important issues. These issues disturb the lesson flow, which may impact student participation and learning during the lesson. Reflecting on the assignment tasks, I found the experience quite challenging, especially during creating the material for set induction and teaching. One particular challenge was creating the material for the set induction during improving the lesson plan by using EducaPlay. I made a lot of mistakes while designing the game, as it needed to be suitable for the students. Moreover, the website required an hour-long wait to create a new game, so I resolved this issue by using another account to create a new game instead of waiting. Next, another challenge was managing the time during teaching. Since my group had divided our part and specific time, I found myself frequently distracted by the need to monitor the time. To overcome this, I've decided to set an alarm to keep track, which allow me to focus more on delivering the lesson smoothly. As a conclusion, I found that this assignment or research was a very valuable experience for me, as I learned a lot, especially while teaching Form 3 students from SMK Temerloh, which is located in Pahang. Hopefully, by managing an online class, it will help me to prepare mentally for the new challenge in the future. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, I bid to Dr. Noraini. My name is SARA binti Muhammad AZMAN. Reflecting on my teaching, I have identified three main basic issues that can still be fixed, which are grammatical errors, technical problems, and unclear instructions. These issues affected the lesson flow and students' participation. The first issue is grammar, specifically subject-verb agreement. I notice how I say, the answer is at the bottom page of the brochure. The correct phrase is, the answer is at the bottom of the page. Proper grammar is crucial for clear communication. As a future teacher, I need to be more careful with this matter since students will take note of everything the teacher says. Additionally, I must serve as a role model for my students. The second issue is technical and communication problems. I realized that technical problems wasted a lot of time. For example, I repeatedly called out a student's name because they couldn't hear me, which delayed the lesson. I also struggled to use the hook a duck game efficiently due to time constraints, leading me to nominate students' names randomly. As a future teacher, I need to prepare everything perfectly and ensure that I won't encounter technical problems during the lesson. Lastly, I notice how I give unclear instructions, which may cause the students to be confused. For example, I say, we will be using the same worksheet link that Teacher 2 has provided, which was vague. I should have said, please open the worksheet link in the chat box. Let me know if you have any issues. As a future teacher, I need to ensure that students can understand each step and can actively participate in the lesson activities. In conclusion, addressing these issues will help me improve my teaching practice and enhance students' learning. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very nice day I bid to my precious lecturer Dr. Noraini and to those who are watching this video of mine. I am AAKMAL HAZIQ and I will be presenting in this video as a part of my individual assignment regarding the third bullet of my assignment, which is the teacher's language proficiency or my own language proficiency during the online lesson that we have conducted as a group back in the 9th of June 2024. As I have reflected on my TT, I have noticed that I have done a few basic mistakes that should not be done by a future English teacher. The mistakes that I have done are the grammar mistakes and also the lack of vocabulary knowledge that has affected my TT during the lesson. For the first mistake that I have done, which is the grammar mistake, I feel that I need to improve more on my grammar skill, as the mistake that I made would seem to be abnormal for a future English teacher to make, as the two mistakes that I have done were just simple mistakes that are literally noticeable. For the first mistake that I made, the sentence that I have uttered sounded like this. Let us proceed to our first activity that will be conducted by me. The correct utterance should be like this. Let us proceed to our first activity, which will be conducted by me. That is for the first mistake related to my grammar skill that I made during the online lesson. For the second mistake, which is also related to my poor grammar skill, the utterance that I have spoken sounded like this. So it is a matching pair games from the website EducaPlay. The right sentence should be, so it is a matching pair game from the website EducaPlay. It was a shame that I have made such a simple mistake that should not be done by me in the first place, as it was just a simple singular and plural rule. For the third mistake which I made during the online lesson, it is related to my lacking awareness on vocabulary. The wrong utterance which I have spoken sounded like this. But please mind that you cannot click on the submit button yet. The correct utterance should sound like this. But please bear in mind that you cannot click on the submit button yet. The mistake I made was due to my poor awareness on the vocabulary, which has resulted in a poor spoken sentence being uttered by me. Now we have reached the very end of the presentation. I thank everyone who are watching this presentation video of mine. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.